For this session, I am extra proud to present Daniela Harmsen because she is partly a product of our university. She studied here and graduated from our Serious Games Master Program in 2011, then left for Barcelona. And the last couple of years, she's been working for Ubisoft Mobile in Barcelona. And in particular, she was the design lead on their latest mobile game called Sandstorm Pirate Wars. So, Daniela, I'm really, really happy that you has come back to Skövde to visit us. And please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Okay, well, let's start. So I'm going to talk a little bit about user-centered games, like how do we use the users to make our games better. I chose that because, I'm talking about inclusiveness. Sometimes you think about a target audience, and sometimes there are problems or things that you don't really foresee, and then when the game starts working, then you can see them thanks to users. So who am I? My name is Daniela Harmsen. You can call me Dani. I studied graphic design in the Finisterre University in Chile. I'm from South America. And when I came here to Europe, I discovered that you could really work in games, which was something I didn't consider before. And I've always liked, when I was little, I played lots of board games and video games, and I always thought that you could learn from them. So I also discovered serious games, and that's how I found the university here and studied the serious games program. When I graduated, I started looking for jobs in different parts of the world, and I found a job in Untitled Chapter, which is a company. They were making games for browsers at the time, and then we shifted to mobile because that was the thing. And afterwards, Ubisoft Barcelona. Ubisoft got the studio, so we became Ubisoft Barcelona Mobile. And well, I've worked there for 5 years, which was really a great experience. And I will be soon leaving. Sorry, I will be soon leaving for Peru, where I'm going back home and making my own thing there. So, So what's different about user-centered design? Let's say. What's Google and World of Warcraft, for example, have in common? That they use the user feedback and they turn it into new features and new ideas. They adapt to the market, which is great. That's one of the things I really liked about the mobile game. You're really in touch with your players, and your game is evolving and changing all the time. So the things I'm going to talk about the process that we follow, just a little summary of how we go from the idea to the and how we maintain this product and polish it. Then I'll talk about pre-production and what's the things we see when we are in pre-production to make sure that it's a good product, and like the KPIs and the tracking plan, so you have you know what you're going to analyze. And then in post-production, I will talk about the CRM, community, and updates. CRM and community are basically the ways we communicate with the players. So the process. When we start a game, basically we have lots of pitches from different people, and so we go through the pitches and we start selecting different ideas. And from these ideas, we start making prototypes and iterating them and re-evaluating them and discarding the ones that we don't like, and so on. So, wait. Okay. Oh, there it is. So yeah, this is an image from Supercell, and yeah, I mean they had lots of they have good hits, but they've also killed a lot of games, and I think that's a right way to go, because yeah, I mean if you start testing your thing and you see that it doesn't work, then you have to go for the next thing, because you will do some games that are not good first, and then start getting to the good thing. So the post-production. First, when we have everything ready to a certain, so feature ready, let's say, we go for a soft launch. So just target some countries where we can test the game. And this is really good because then we can see if there are technical problems, for example, or just to start having some feedback from the users. In different ways. Sometimes it's they know they're helping us because they're telling us this doesn't work or this kind of things, or I don't like this feature. But then sometimes they don't know they're helping us, and that's where data analyst comes. And I'll talk about that later. Then we have the hard launch when it goes global, and so we launch to the world. And of course there is also a lot of feedback there that we get. But the importance of the soft launch is that hopefully we've solved the bigger issues there first before sending it to the world. And then we have the updates. Because, yeah, that's the thing about mobile games. They have to evolve. All people are waiting for the updates and getting, I don't know, more ships if you're playing with ships, or levels, or whatever your game does for progression. So that's the summary of everything. And okay, so what are the things we see? Okay, we worry about the KPIs, which are the key performance indicators. Basically, retention, monetization, and virality. So for retention, yeah, if they enjoy it, they will come back, right? So you have to make a game that they appreciate. How we measure it? We measure it by days. So retention to the first day, the 7th day, and the 30th day. That's the usual thing. And there are, of course, some levels where it's a good retention, which is the one we're aiming for. And then there's a minimum. So if it doesn't hit the minimum, you should try to make it better. And if it still doesn't hit the minimum, then you probably need to kill the game. Yeah. For retention, you also have to take into account the user behavior. It's different, for example, when you make a game for tablet than when you make it for mobile, because, yeah, I mean, tablet, obviously you have more space to put things and everything, but also the sessions usually are different. So in the mobile, they're usually shorter sessions, and in tablet, they're usually longer. The first session is very important in free-to-play. Yeah, the games we do in Barcelona Mobile are free-to-play. And it's really important because when you pay 50 euros or something for a game, I mean, you're going to play it. And even if you don't like it at the beginning, it doesn't matter because you already paid your 50 euros. So you're going to give it a second chance, and until, yeah, I mean, at least you're going to play all of it and then decide if you liked it or not. But you're going to give it a chance. Well, if you have a free game, then yeah, you download it, you play. If 2 seconds in you don't like it, then you just delete it, and there's other free-to-play games. So we need to make sure that you like it from the beginning. So everything has to be very simple and clear. That's a basic thing. And sometimes you would think that some things are clear and simple, and they're not. So yeah, that's why it's so important to test with users, because you're so into the project that sometimes you think that things are very obvious, and they're not. So you need to be, I mean, you need to be clear for everyone, not just for you and your team. Yeah, I mean, for example, here's an example from Angry Birds. Like, yeah, it shows you this little animation of how it works, so it's really clear. Also, yeah, it's it's good to have little things, and I mean, not a lot of things in the screen and just simple symbols. Just be careful with the symbols, because sometimes some symbols are not universal. So they might be, for example, very understandable here in Europe, for example, but not in the rest of the world. And also be careful with crashes and technical problems, because you can lose a lot of users there. So a lot of testing is key for retention. Another thing that helps a lot with retention is community management. That's a huge thing, because that's the person who will be in touch with your players, really. So they will know if there's a problem. They can talk to the players. They can explain if something is not working, or how they can. I mean, if we're working in something, then the players know that we're working to make it better. It's a great communication tool. Also, you can do events and things to drag your players in and to keep them there. Yeah. So how do you bring people back in mobile? Because yeah, they can play one time and really enjoy it and everything, but maybe they forget about it later. So one of the things that have been used a lot, for example, are energy or stamina, life, time. Also, push notifications are a good way to drag them back, like they forgot about the game. So you remind them, and then they think, oh yeah, I had a good time, and they come back. Daily rewards are also something that is used, so people want to come back every day because they will get a good reward afterwards. And friends are also very important. So yeah, I mean, because they give you points to do something, or because you need them to play, like in Clash of Clans, you can have your clan. Okay, so monetization, that's an important thing for business, right? So essential for monetization is that there's a good retention. If there's not a good retention, then your monetization is not going to be good. How do we measure it? Yeah, we measure a lot of things, like average revenue per user, average revenue per paying user, the lifetime consumer value, conversion rate, and yeah, how does all of this work in the in-app purchases? In-app purchases is where we get the funds, let's say, and we can see how all these different indexes are working. What can you do to get good monetization, for example? You have to have a visible shop. It doesn't have to be a shop button. It could be just that when you're taking a look at your ships, you can right away buy the next one. So you don't necessarily need a shop. But the thing is that they have to have the opportunity to buy things, and it's easy for them to get there. Also, it's important to reduce friction. Yeah, I mean, you don't need a million pop-ups telling you this. Are you sure about this? And are you sure, or whatever? I don't know. You need to make it as easy as possible without, I mean, it's important that the player understands what they're doing, so not just click a button and something happens and they don't know what's going on. So they're informed, but just be clear and try not to have a very long process. Also, it's very important for a game to have enough offer, because if you don't have enough things that players can buy inside your game, of course, you're probably not going to make a lot of money. Some other things that are used are sales and promotions, of course. That's a special offer that will, if you don't do it today, then you probably won't get it. Then some people will buy that. And another thing that's being used a lot, for example, in Hearthstone and yeah, in Puzzles and Dragons when they started and until now, the gachas, which is some kind of gambling, right? So yeah, you buy something which has the same price every time, and you know that you will get one good thing of it at least. Sometimes you get repeated thing, but then you can probably change it with someone or use it as magic powder or whatever, so you can change it for something else. And then we have virality. So how does that work? Virality is getting new users thanks to existing users, because getting users could be tricky as well. Many times you have to pay for them. So it reduces your acquisition cost per user, because it's something that your own players do. So invites or posting things in the walls when we had the Facebook games. Well, still with the mobiles you can post things. So basically social media. Yeah, you also can be a little bit creative. So different ways to convince people to rate. If you have a pop-up which they find funny or whatever, they might rate it. App Store ratings are very important as well. People look at them a lot, so you want them. There are some mechanics in some games where you can invite, for example, another player to play with you, and this gives you points or power, or depends on the game. Also the posting thing in the Facebook. So if they see you doing things, they might do the same. It's a tricky thing, because also you have to have some text that convinces them with very little amount of characters. Then the cross promotion between one game and the other, and within the same business. So some things that are important to virality is reducing the friction. So if you want people to invite people, just have it in a way that it's easy, and also probably in a moment where they see they can use this help. Because when they're starting to play a game, they don't know very well what it is about. So they might not value what you're giving them. If you say, okay, you will win, I don't know, PAL points, for example, maybe they don't know what they can use it for. But if you have them see the object that you can get with that, and then tell you that you can get those points, then that might be more tempting. And also, well, at least in the games I've played, we don't like crew mechanics, because, some people, or a lot of people, don't like it either. I mean, being forced to invite people so you can finish a game can lose you some players. Okay, and then you have the tracking plan. This is very important. The tracking is what you do to get the data from your users. So you need to establish which data you need, and plan how you will use this data. So from the beginning, it's good to know. Okay, I want to know, for example, if I have a game with lots of fighters, I need to know which fighters they're using more, and so I can see why they're not using the other ones, or this kind of thing. So you need to make a plan. And what's it good for? One thing that you usually measure is the first session funnel, because, like I said, it's very important to get your users in the beginning. So, I'll explain that in a bit. Then you can evaluate a specific feature. You can see how they use the content, if they're using it all or not. You can do A/B tests, and also know which purchases, which things they're buying. For example, the tutorial funnel, like you can see here, there are certain drops there. So it's normal that in every step of the tutorial, for example, you will lose a little bit of players. But when you see these big drops there, then that's not very good, because something is happening. A lot of people are leaving for some reason, so you need to know what's going on. So you analyze when it's happening, and then you can start theorizing on why this is happening. And then you start discovering things, so you can fix them, and hopefully then your funnel will just follow a little bit every time. One of the other things is, for example, this was one of the games I worked in, which is Galaxy Live. So there were some units that weren't being used, so we started getting some data on which units were being used and which weren't. So, okay, so when we knew which ones weren't being used, then we could start thinking why they aren't being used. Maybe they're not working properly. Why don't people like them? You can have your community manager help you there as well, or just Also, you can have many times it's because the balancing is not right. So just analyze the balancing and see, okay, maybe they don't have enough power, and so you can fix it. Another thing that we see is the click ratio, for example, in an A/B test, you can check for that. So you have the A/B tests, probably know how they work, but just in case, you have a version of the game for some people, and then you have a different version of the game for other people. It's just a small detail, but then you can see which one performs better. And this is really good because sometimes people, they say they don't like something or they give you feedback, but it's not necessarily what they really think. Or, I mean, they would think they won't click there because of blah, blah, but then in the end they do. So it's good to have the information of what they actually do, because then you can really evaluate it. And so if you have a very big difference and you see that option A works a lot better than option B, then you can give option A a go and make it for everyone. Also, here, it's important to make them very different. not just, I mean, it could be something that is not very noticeable, that changed in a way, but the values of it should be very different, so that you can really see which one works better. And then you have the community. Like, for example, Twitter or different, usually community manager has a lot of different places where they communicate with the users. So for example, fan pages in Facebook and Twitter, the forums, customer support. And why is this so important? Because really, I mean, you create a game and you know how it works, you've played it a lot and everything, but some people will like your game so much that they will play it more than you. And sometimes these people know it better than you do. So you really need their feedback. And some people that really like your game will really take the time, for example, in forums, to write a big paragraph of what they like, what they don't like. You can even ask some of your users that you know that like the game and play it a lot to comment you on something, and most of the time they will, because they really like the game. They want it to keep being better, so they will give you your feedback, and that's really good feedback. And what is it good for? The community, you can share game information with the players. You can clear out some doubts. Sometimes something doesn't work, and so you can have your community manager explain to them. Of course, if it doesn't work, then you should probably fix it in your game as well. But since that takes some time, then you can have your community manager to explain it for a while while it's being fixed. And then you can get the user feedback, and also, for example, organize events where you can keep your users engaged. So the customer relationship manager, which is the CRM, allows changes in the game for some users, like the A/B test. So you can show some players one thing and the others another thing. And also for all users, so you can communicate with the user. And this goes from just, for example, announcing a big new thing that you have in your game. And also you can apologize, because sometimes something didn't work or you have a bug or whatever, and you can apologize to them and even give them some currencies or something so they can, I mean, we all make mistakes, right? So, I mean, if you recognize them and you do something for your players, they will appreciate it. And so we use it for A/B tests, we use it for sales. So to have an object that will be cheaper for some time, for example, and then to communicate with users. New features, contests, apologies, rewards, prices, etc. And then we have the updates. So how do we detect the game needs? We have the team suggestions, because the team also will always have lots of suggestions. And it's good to have your team play the game as well. Sometimes they don't have the time to play, and I really recommend that you make that time. And so maybe once a week or something, you can have a session where everyone plays the game, and then you have some suggestions there. And it's also good because everyone will see, apart from the global view, they will see what they do. Like if it's an artist, they see, oh, this is not working. This, I don't know, this building doesn't look good from this perspective or whatever. So you can get feedback from different sides, different views. Also, you analyze the A/B tests and the tracking. And that's why you need a plan as well, because you can have a lot of data, but if you don't know what you're planning to get from it, then it can be chaos, and you're not going to use it. So it's good to have a plan about it.
5 minutes remaining.
OK, thanks. Yeah, you have the user feedback. So the updates then can contain bug fixing, new content, the balancing adjustment that you've done with the feedback, new features, improvements, and season events. Yeah, these are some things we did, like having a new weapon, for example, that is completely different, some events. And yeah, so that's it. I think we still have 5 minutes, so we can have questions if you want. Thanks. OK, so it seems there's no questions. OK, well, thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you very much.